We just began.
Yeah, we
Okay.
just began, we adopted the minutes, and now we're looking at the draft survey questionnaire. John, you were making a comment about the second sentence in the second section. What is the RTE?
Exactly. So this sentence right now doesn't capture the renter, landlord slash renter side of things, because it only talks about increasing taxes for houses above 2.3 million,
Mhm.
which isn't true. If it's a rent, if the house value is below 2.3 million, and it was a secondary house and the property value went up. So it honestly, if it worked this way, it might be good. It would be much more impactful. Because this would exclude the renter dynamic. That sentence,
So the last sentence now reads, it only applies to homeowners. As opposed to, nor does it benefit renters. How do,
for fiscal year 2025, the RTE reduced residential property taxes for homes assessed below 2.3 million and increased residential property taxes for homes assessed above 2.3 million.
all right, but
the last
you're,
part says
the
it only
last
applies
sentence in
to
that section,
renters.
it only applies to homeowners.
But it doesn't, it applies to renters in that their rent probably went up.
No, the exemption only applies,
You might
If
wanna
I'm a
say
renter, it applies to
primary,
me.
it's primary.
in the first sentence, it says,
Owners of high.
Owners,
value homes.
the
Yeah, I
RTE
see.
shifts a portion
Yeah.
from owners of lower value homes to owners
Yeah.
of higher value homes, as well as to landlords and residents for whom their Concord home is not their primary
Right.
residence.
True. I'm just, I guess my only point is that sentence isn't that sentence is not, I don't think, correct.
Do you
Because,
want a proposed change?
as well as secondary houses or landlords. At the end of that sentence, 2.3 million. Because if I owned a house,
Landlords,
if I owned a house that I was renting out that was valued at $1 million, right, my taxes went up.
Yeah.
That's so I wouldn't want, as I'm taking this survey to think, oh, I'm renting a house that costs $1 million, my taxes went down, this is good, and I have low income.
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite of
but
that.
don't we cover that by saying landlords? I
We
think
do
that
elsewhere, but not in that
So
landlord-
sentence,
you're saying what we should do is put, I think.
as well as secondary home slash
Put
landlord.
ChatGPT in that.
You could also say
I was saying-
owners residing homes
Use ChatGPT if-
less,
Ladies,
owners residing in homes less than and more than.
Because I mean, honestly, as I said, if it worked
so
this
instead
way,
of saying
it
for
would be much more
homes,
effective.
let me get this clear, instead of saying for homes, say for owners residing.
In homes, yeah.
We defer to you.
So obviously it doesn't apply to renters.
I wonder if it may, we did have a sentence in there before that specifically said did not apply to renters. I mean, I wonder if people who.
It does, I mean, I guess, I
Yeah.
understand it does not apply to renters point, but it really does.
It does.
It does apply to renters because it's.
No, the benefit does not accrue.
But the negative
Correct.
side.
Exactly.
impacts them.
No, in fact, what is true is secondary homes and renters get the full impact of the tax rate increase.
Yes,
That,
and that's what I want to make clear, not that it's just people who have houses over $2.3 million. So I mean, to me, I put as well as secondary houses landlords, but if we want to, because I'm
So
not,
can you,
yeah.
can you give us language, please?
Yeah,
In that
for 20
second sentence.
Yep, and for 2025, the RTA reduced residential property taxes for homes assessed below 2.3 million. And increased residential property taxes for homes assessed above 2.3 million, as well as secondary homes,
And all homes, all secondary.
as well as all secondary homes.
I just reached them to a potential rewrite.
And you're satisfied that that addresses the renter issue?
Or we do, as said, as well as secondary homes slash landlords.
yeah, I think that would be good.
We'll see.
I mean, to me, this is the crux of the issue, this whole thing.
It doesn't address. two-
Okay. Yeah, got it.
And then my only other edit was, I just think it's under question 4, what is your approximate total household income? Right, versus what is your total household income? Small.
Okay.
Some of the numbering was off, was that fixed in the thing? When I looked at the one, it was like question 13, but to the question 14 to. Like, you know, your.
I think the track changes. Around some.
Yeah, so the track-
In the
I
version
moved
that I
one.
have, it's clean.
Yeah, I moved one of the questions.
So we'll make sure that it's sequential, yeah. So there was, question 16, what is your level of knowledge of the RTE? Shannon, you were commenting that you worry that now that we've given this somewhat more fulsome explanation here, should we put a qualifier at
Oh,
the
yeah,
beginning
that
of that
was a-
question? Saying prior to this survey, what was your knowledge?
That was in one of the, that would also did not come in. So you said prior to beginning the survey?
Yeah, like something
Right,
like
it's in
that,
there.
just like,
Yeah.
because you could read that and be like, yeah, my knowledge is excellent, you guys provided me a fulsome experience here, I know exactly what this is. Um,
Okay, so that's addressed. And then you wanted to remove no opinion from the options.
So only for the questions for which I didn't think it made a lot of sense, so question. Which one?
Question 16,
This
this is about your level of knowledge. You'd like to force people into declaring that they have completely understood somewhat.
So no opinion is not an answer,
Yeah, I
what
think-
is my level of knowledge?
But
My
you
level
do
of
not
knowledge,
know.
I do not
Yeah,
know,
that's-
but it's
yeah.
not that I have no
Right.
opinion on
That's
the level
true.
of knowledge.
Yeah,
That
that's
made
true.
any sense.
Got it.
That's why I removed
Just
it.
wanted to hear
Yeah,
that.
makes sense.
Mhm.
I have no opinion when there's an opinion question.
And the same with 17.
No, 17, I think. it would
Level
be
of
good.
support is fine, you can have an opinion,
Yeah.
right?
No
But-
opinion, you have no opinion, yeah, agreed.
If you do not understand the RTE before beginning the survey, what would you say your level of understanding of the RTE was? And that you say did not understand at all, you then could say for 17, I don't have a clue whether I support RTE or.
Or, yeah, no, yeah,
Because, and then explain, it could be, I don't understand
no
it.
clue what it is, yep.
Yeah.
And in answer to your comment about how would we scale this, I would say we scale the first 4, 3, 2, 1. And then 0 is another answer.
Yeah, so is level of, if you have, so your level of support, no opinion, no opinion is typically the neutral response. When it's like, right, because if you have a strong opinion in one direction, you have a strong opinion in the
Okay.
other direction,
Good
no
point.
opinion is usually
So
your
put it,
one.
put
I
it in the
wonder,
middle.
the other
Almost
option is to
always.
just keep it out as a separate one, right? Because that's how we did it typically, because if you do it as a neutral response, and let's say everyone else was, like strongly opposed or strongly support, then that might skew how things look. So I'd rather carve it out as no opinion, like carve out no opinion altogether, rather than giving it a moderate response, because that could skew the.
So
obvious
people
colors.
who say no opinion, you're gonna remove from
I
the,
would show it as no opinion.
that's fine.
30% of people had no opinion.
I didn't have a strong sense, many of these things were not like, I feel very strongly about this,
Yeah.
because I don't understand what our conceptual model is.
No, that makes sense, yeah.
So, in no opinion, it's listed as an E response, and it's usually listed as a C response, so that, that makes sense to me to like, right, it's
Put it
usually listed as
apart.
the middle response, because it's usually the middle option for people, so that it's listed at the bottom, it makes sense that then you would analyze
Okay.
that, really. That makes sense to me, I can support that.
Okay, and then the final one where I wasn't sure whether we're addressing it properly is 22. For the moment, we're asking for people to check 3 reasons why they might consider moving out of Concord. And you're asking, how would we analyze this?
Yeah, so the only reason I mention it is because and it's completely fine, but if. If you get 3 responses, first of all, so check up to 3, you're
Mhm.
asking people to check 3, check up to 3, which did we write?
No, no, okay.
So up to 3 indicates that people can, if they wanna like sort of bullet vote, like they pick the one that's really important to them.
Mhm.
So that's one slight difference. And then the second is if you don't get any sense of people's importance. So like if everyone picks 3, and let's say for illustrative purposes, they all pick the same 3, but one of them was like very critically important to those people, you just never are gonna understand that. So we just need to know when we're asking a question like this, what we're gonna be able to do with the responses.
To me, you pull it and you say of these, whatever it is, 8 or 9 factors. This many hit on A,
Yeah,
this many
We
hit
just
on
won't
B.
ever know that if we have,
We won't have a ranking.
we won't know that if we say 1,000 people picked reduce my overall housing costs, we won't know whether that's the most important reason or not, so we just need to be careful about how we interpret
Right.
that
Mhm.
result when you do pick 3 or up to 3 or whatever. And I just didn't know if we're forcing people to pick 3 things because we want everyone to pick the same number of things, or we're asking people also to pick up to 3 responses, which
So I like
also-
up to 3.
I do
The
too.
question is, should we ask them to rank them?
I like ranking, actually. I like, because it gives some relative, it might be like other 3, but really it's one like, So I like either it's ranking or 1 to 5 scale or 1 to 7 scale.
So the other way you could do it is you could have each person, you could list all of these and have them each do a one,
1
like
to
not
5,
1 to 5
7.
scale, one, whatever. It's a
Yeah.
more onerous
Process.
process
Yeah.
for people, so I'm worried about survey length, but
Maybe
also,
just rank it
but I
then.
also didn't know what the ranking possibilities were on our.
Yeah, so,
Qualtrics lets you rank, but I don't know that Google or whatever. we're
yeah,
using is
one of the things is, we know branching works,
Yeah,
but some of the other things like do tables work
yeah,
and ranking, I do not know. I'm
So that was
talking,
my-
What are we using?
Microsoft Forms.
I've never used it.
and I've not used it either, so I don't know.
So that was my, and it's not that there's one way that's like better than the other, I think we just need to understand before we launch something, what is the data we're gonna be able to report on the
Well,
other
well, how
side.
about this? If we can rank it, I think it would be better to rank it. If we
Sure.
can't rank it,
Okay.
I think it'd be useful to get check up to 3.
Okay.
Or rank top 3.
Or
see
rank
what's
top
possible.
3.
Okay.
with one being the most important.
Yeah, okay.
I think with, unless there are other
okay.
observations, so.
Great.
So Ellen, you're
So-
meeting with someone at Townhouse today, is that right?
Yeah, so if you split to question 10 and 11, the question for the townhouse and Microsoft Forms is, do they enable a table like this, or must everything be question and then bullet, 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 bullet?
Yeah.
So I need to go back, and if there's an issue, I'll come back the next meeting and you can say, okay, I want this, we can discuss what the.
If we have to start.
Can you all hear me?
Oh,
Yes, we
Chris,
can.
Can you hear me? Sorry, I was working on the survey, so I'm here if you wanted to chat about
Oh,
it.
Kristen, so can Microsoft Forms allow ranking?
Yes, in certain situations, I actually finished the survey yesterday. So, but you can't do the tables we can't do.
Got it, okay, but you can do ranking, okay, great.
So we could do branching, say, if you know your monthly costs, housing costs, please answer this. If not, please consider the next question, which would
Yes.
be annual.
Do you think
Yeah.
about your cost monthly or annual basis,
Okay,
right? Like if you, and then,
Mhm.
yeah.
or do not know, okay,
Would
And
be,
then-
would be one way to deal with that.
And
and
then
then
the
you-
financial burden's gonna have to.
and the
be-
financial burden would be also, first address your total housing cost, now please address your
So
residential.
that would be two separate questions.
Yeah, so we'd actually have 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'd be branching for 10, 3 times branching for 11.
We can just,
Twice.
Do we need a do not know?
We can just forget it,
I would branch twice.
so that,
from
so it's
10.
twice and twice, it's still gonna be, it's gonna be long.
I know.
Gonna be long.
well, maybe what we have under mortgage, home insurance, probably just have, allow people to.
See, the problem is you've got.
But when you put it,
individual-
when we enter in the numbers under the branching, can one of the options be not known?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah, so we
Okay.
branch it twice and then just have one of the options be not known
under
Okay.
each branch.
under each branch.
Okay,
Okay, so
thanks, Kristen.
yeah, I appreciate that. So there are slight changes.
Yeah, no, I got them,
Okay,
but maybe if you could, if I could take your copy for the,
I sent
Thank
Lynn
you.
potential simplified coverage too, please. Make it better, but I'll send it to you. I'm conscious.
all right, moving on. The proposal was to add a link at the end of the survey
Hmm.
to a simple
Yeah.
explanation, and a draft of which Rich prepared for us and I circulated. It's called Residential Tax Exemption Explained, which I apologize, I just really looked at it carefully this morning. Few comments. One, there's a confusion between average and median. Median is not correct. They take the average residential value. The total residential value divided by the total number of residential properties is the average assessed value.
Or the mean.
Those are synonymous, yes.
Usually you
I
don't
would
use the
use
word
average.
average in academic stuff, but if
But this is not academic, this is
That's
a lay.
Plainer, it's a mean, it's an
Yeah.
average.
As the kids say, that's my bad.
And I would say average assessed residential value in the first line. I have a lot of suggested revisions. Should I put them in a track changes and send them back to you, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, sure, I mean, I probably wouldn't disagree with most of them. I think, to me, the basic issue was I tried to come up with a simplified example.
Right,
So that people could really see what happens when you
Yep.
look at the assessor's table. I go, and I thought, okay, let's take us, 100 homes, $1 million, $100 million, and see how it plays out. So that was the basic reason for wanting to do this.
Yep.
And you can see what happens if you're a resident owner and if you're not. And after the RTE. So, I mean, in general, I'm fairly agnostic about changes. I'm sure they're probably better the way you wrote it. To me, the question for the committee is, do you think we should do the hypothetical? Ellen, I think I forget whether it was you or Lynn said, we should use the numbers from the.
so that would be my other broad
Yeah,
observation. If you look at the PowerPoint draft
Yeah.
that I circulated, I had done an example here too, with just 3 different home values using the assessor's numbers. So I took 500, I took the break even, and then I took an extremely high valued home, 5.5 million.
And do you have resident, non-resident? I don't think you do.
It's on, we can get
We
that.
can
from-
get that.
I mean, we get it.
I can, yeah. My suggestion would be A, to simplify this, to have just 3 choices. B, use the numbers from the assessor, and C, an important column missing here is the change in tax bill. Because I want to be able to show very clearly, here are the values, where you get a break in your taxes, here's where the break even is, and here's where.
I thought that was,
you pay more.
clear because you could see what it was.
Yeah, well,
what it
if we're
is,
trying to
but-
make things super easy for people to grasp.
And it would be nice, the thing, other reason to do it that way is that then they're seeing consistent numbers and they can recognize and say, oh, I've seen that, and that's my tax bill, or, relate to it.
Speaking of consistency, this one says the break-even point is 2.1.
It should be
but the
2.3.
report
Wait,
is
it's 2.253.
Yeah,
2.3
2.3 in the last fiscal
And the
year.
percentage of properties receiving exemption was 66%.
Yeah, or I left those blank.
Yeah,
Only
okay.
because, I didn't know whether we wanted to use it at all. Okay, so 66%,
Right.
2.3.
And I think
Why,
it's-
why does it matter why does that matter what percentage of the properties, that's more of an outcome versus a description of what it is. I don't think I'd include that,
Yeah. I think.
because it's not a fact about what
Well,
it
it's
is,
people are gonna wanna know.
but that's not. a
Is
description of
everybody
what it
getting
is.
this? Is nobody getting this?
Well, no, that's 2 different questions. There are people who could get it. And then there are plenty of people who didn't even apply.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know about it, or they didn't think it applied to them, or they.
It doesn't say on here anywhere that there's no, like, a lot of people think it's means tested. Like,
Yes,
we
exactly.
actually
Means
say
tested,
there
yeah.
is no means test on this exact.
Totally.
We also should just say, if we're gonna use language like average, we should not use means tested, we should use language.
No, I would just say,
income, whatever,
the
yeah.
income
Whatever.
is not a
Yeah.
determinant.
If
Yeah,
we're
no,
gonna
you're
make
right.
it
No, you're
simplified, like
I mean,
100%.
Like the major finding from your interviews was people didn't get it. They
People didn't understand that
it,
they were able to,
Or
they
even
qualified.
yeah,
or
that it
they
was not
could-
income based
Yeah.
or secondary homes. It just, the level of knowledge was really low, is really low.
So let me ask more broadly, do we still think that linking a Word document?
Yes.
After you've completed your survey, if you'd like to see an example of how this is actually calculated, please see
Yeah.
blank.
Yes, I would also love, and I don't know if it's possible, could we get the open rate from something like that?
The
You
what?
know,
Oh, yeah, the
rate.
open rate on there, yeah.
So on
How
Google
many people click
Forms,
through?
Oh, I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's gonna be low.
for this explainer.
Yeah,
how
like
many
if it's got a
people-
link at the bottom, is there a way for us to track the open rate of the link? I'm just curious.
Yes,
if
Kristen,
if
can
have
we-
Access.
Will
to
we
see
know that
that.
if there's a link, if there's a clickable link, how many
Yeah.
people clicked on it of the people who actually
Never
opened the
waste
survey?
data.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
So if at the end of the survey, we provided a link to something, like an internal link to something we produced, would we be able to see the open rate of that link?
How many people
How many
clicked
people
on it?
clicked on the link at the end of it?
I'm
Does
sorry, I
Microsoft
don't,
Give you the back end data for open rates?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
It's not make or break,
It
but
might
if.
be- it would be interesting,
Yeah,
I
it
think,
would be-
I suspect, well, yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, if we could get that, we should just see. Sometimes you can get like the back end analytics of, you know, how many, but you can get it usually for the survey itself, like how many people opened but didn't finish, like abandonment rate on surveys and
We
stuff.
use it on
But-
screeners a lot. We use it on screeners a lot because you get a lot of people who opted out. who
Yeah.
didn't want it.
Exactly.
Well,
So-
of course, just clicking on it doesn't mean you read it and absorbed it.
No.
No, but if
it's
you
another-
didn't click on it, you definitely.
You certainly did not.
absorb
yes.
it.
Just to click on it shows some level of interest. It's just
Exactly.
To know, I agree.
I think it may not be as low as you think, because,
People who
because
take
the
the
five,
selecting it and
Oh, you're
so
right
you
about
don't know,
that.
it could be 50, so that's why I was curious if we could get it, so
Yeah.
let's see.
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity to do a graph that shows a bell curve versus, or in addition to, you said 500 and 5.5. I just think there's a large area of
In between.
in between where it's less consequential for people.
Oh, I did actually do have a
That's
chart like
perfect, yeah, I
that,
think-
which I could include, that was from, you know, the whole range, taken from the assessor's data. That showed between 1 and 2 million, it was 1%,
Right,
and below 1 million, it was double digit.
What was 1%? Sorry.
The change in taxes, and I can either do it in
Is
the.
that what you're asking?
yeah, so when
Percentage.
you do you know, if you take 500, which is really at our lower end,
Mm-hmm.
and 5.5, which is pretty far up
Mhm.
there.
Those
you
are
know, and
extremes.
2.5 being in the middle,
Yeah,
there's a lot of.
But what do you want to show? The range of
the-
assessed values?
No,
or-
the net impact of the RTE
Yes, the
on
impact
taxes.
on someone who has a house that's just above or
Okay.
below the
So-
2.5.
So you want to show the change in tax bill by property value?
Yeah, and I've got
Yeah,
that.
I think it can be-
Is it a 2x2 value and versus tax?
I know, here, I got it.
I'm looking at a bell curve, but that's me, I don't know, just to show this.
I think she's saying if
Average.
you look at, if most people, if you're like statistically drawing someone, most people aren't gonna fall into any of those three buckets, right? Because
Right.
our median.
Yeah.
home
Right.
price-
No, you wanna see the range.
The change in property value
Yeah.
here, and if the change in property tax bill
Yeah.
here, and property values
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, that
That's
would
what,
work.
that's.
Here,
that. 2x2
I don't know if you can
that's
see
value.
this, but it's right here, which shows, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not, it's a bell, it's, I'm sorry, it's not a bell curve, it's just a
But it's
plot.
showing
But it's
plot.
showing exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying.
That's-
Okay,
yeah.
so I can put that into a
The
table.
reasoning I'm thinking is if
Yeah,
you
this was.
say
Yeah.
500 and 5.5,
But I
you're
haven't seen that part of
suggesting
it.
there's more, it's more extreme. But if you show the range.
Most
it's-
people are gonna fall in the middle.
Most people are gonna fall in the middle,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I
But
think
what's
that's a very good
useful
point.
about it is it shows that on the high end, the max is around 4%. But on the low end, I mean, it could be 24%.
Yeah.
If your
Saving.
house value is
The
500,000.
reduction.
So it's a big deal, and it's all about how important is $145,000 deducted from your assessment, on your total assessment.
Right.
And
I
I think,
just, if you
okay,
can
I
just add a
Yeah.
visual.
Yep,
I
yeah,
any of
I
those
think that's a
visuals
great
work,
idea.
I think that would-
Send that to us.
Some people work on pictures, you know.
No, I
I think
totally,
most people do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I do.
my husband always used to yell at me that I put too many tables in my reports. That's what I bring up.
Yeah, no, I believe in draft.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
All right, so, Ellen, maybe this is a good time to talk about timing, because I think we have a little bit
Yeah,
more
so-
time than we thought.
So here's the deal with the league room voters. I'm very happy to say the league was very interested in having the RTE be a first Friday. The problem is the first Fridays are first Friday. So the first one, you have October, November, October 3rd. So like, I don't think we're ready by October 3rd. Although, because I was rather passionate about RTE, people thought that I had like a zillion slides, you know, at the ready. But that
We
means.
do, we have slides.
No, but I think that I respectfully, I think that we do better with November. So what they gave us was November 11th. And so now the
Seven.
November 11th is not a first Friday.
November 7th.
7th, I'm sorry.
check this, cause I was just told that they committed, to doing the November 1st Friday on how to build an ADU.
Ah,
No, I was at the meeting and I can share the notes.
Okay, then.
So October is MCI Concord. And then November 7th is RTE. And then ADU, they might do, Rich, maybe you're referring to, as a thought was maybe a whole Saturday should be on ADUs and housing options, especially for downsizing and, you know, in-law apartments and things like that. In other words, it required,
An ADU.
yeah, and then having builders come. In other words, have it really be a hands-on.
Yeah,
event.
no, that was
Okay.
planned, but, okay, I mean, you're chair of the board of the league,
So I'm
so
not in the
my,
board, but yeah.
my board must have misunderstood, but
No,
okay. So we're talking November.
So the
Time
point,
are those meetings?
Mhm.
10:30 to 12, it's in the morning. So it'd be Friday, is it November
November
7th?
seventh.
And, so that means that the question, so that means that if we present, if the major kind of opportunity for the public to understand more about the RTE is November 7th. And right now our survey says we're not going to complete by November 20th. The question is, should we, push that back so that you at least have like a month?
So my
Sorry.
original thinking on November 20 was to get the survey done before the holiday.
Yeah, I agree with that.
However, if we're not presenting at the league till November 7, can we still launch? I mean, ideally, I would still launch mid-October.
Yeah, I think, so.
Yeah,
I think we have.
And try to bring it in.
Cause we're asking in the survey, do you even know about the RTE?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So now we're gonna ask
Those are
them, like,
independent
what are they-
things.
Sort of generate,
Yeah.
we may
completely
I mean,
separate.
maybe we should even put on the postcard,
Come to the-
To learn more,
Exactly.
attend the first Friday.
You don't have to wait to fill the survey out.
Yeah.
No, I think
No,
they,
they wanna
I think they're
try-
very
Actually,
separate.
I actually don't even want them, I don't think we should even introduce our League of Women's Voters in the survey. Honestly, I just keep it, here's your survey.
No,
No,
I'm
you-
I'm
Because I
not
don't want
saying,
people to then say, oh, I'm gonna go to the League of Women's Voter and then
And
take
then
the survey.
I think there's two different things. It's like the survey should, I think as it stands,
Yeah.
can go out as soon as we can get it coded.
Yep.
Done and hard copy and put it all the places we want. It's only that the League of Women Voters, if people are like, I don't get it, or they need a little encouragement, the first Fridays become basically good publicity.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's really what it's meant to be.
that's great.
But I think what we're saying is that can happen in the middle of our survey
Yes,
period.
yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't have to be our.
So we can send the postcards out, let's say, early October or right at the same time that we launch it. And then bang, that's the first flood of, you should do this, this is important. You've heard about the RTE. We need your opinion. Then we'll see what the open rate is for the link. And then in November 7th, League comes along and says, okay, so here's RTE, here's the context.
The survey's been out a couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
so please, we have 3 more weeks for you to fill it out. Please do.
Mhm.
And
How
make
many
it-
people typically attend first ones?
Um,
Same thing.
10,000 people.
For a real-
no, it's probably 50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say
30.
No, 30 to, like
Going
30 to
17
50.
myself, but how many?
30 to 50.
But it's available, it's recorded.
Yeah, no, this is all good. I'm just saying, it's not like if you get an N of 1,000, which is like an ideal situation, 50 people who attended something, not gonna throw it.
No, it's in the morning. So if you're working, forget it.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very selected audience
Yeah.
that go to First Friday.
Yeah.
And so it's more the publicity of it's gonna be in the bridge, First Friday RTE. It just helps to do the buzz.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't think it's gonna.
No, I
be
agree.
That's how we come back to thinking about at the end of this, how we weight the responses, because we're not gonna have a representative group here. We were talking about this at the last meeting.
But if your N's 1,000, you've got law of large numbers.
Exactly, so I guess actually, I'm not convinced that, we'll see what the N is, right? Because I don't think the N will be 20, but whatever, we'll see. My point is, I'm worried about sample bias, so that's something we're gonna have to look at when we come back.
We will
Yeah,
have.
but I come back to what I said last time. We have a table that says, 20% of the town is over 65, 40% of the respondents were over 65. Fine, we know we've got.
Well, we can do
We
it.
can't do
It's not demographics, we know where the
Yeah,
demographics.
demographics, but then the motivation to complete it.
Well, I
It's
mean,
a
to
very
John's
hard
point
thing.
though, if 20% are over seniors and we have 80% of the survey was filled out by everybody over seniors,
Then you know,
then we can't really use the data because it's.
you can use it.
To
You just have
adjust-
to know
to adjust
what
the data.
It is.
And that's a
Yeah.
population of interest to the select board.
I guess I'll
Part of our-
restate the
Wow.
importance of that, given that I think our data set that our responses are inevitably gonna be biased. Just in terms of you're not gonna get a perfect sample.
You're gonna get perfect sample,
Yeah,
such
I-
a thing does not exist.
Yeah, ideally, if you find that, there's an underrepresentation, let's say, people under 40. But you've
No.
got enough that
I'm
you,
on that.
I know, you got it. But if you can't have all your friends fill it out because otherwise you'll be on their doorstep, you could possibly have 2 different cohorts in the analysis. and then look at the difference and use that as how we interpret, not think that everybody's over 60 in Concord and the
Mhm.
average is representative of everybody, because it's probably,
Yeah, right.
I think there's always gonna be different
I
cohorts.
So
can
maybe
think
we-
of some taglines for the postcard that might spur some people to fill out the
Oh,
survey.
please.
I mean, I think it's, some of it is about how you approach it. I don't wanna skew, or bias people in that tagline, but I think there's, worried about your taxes or concerned or want to know more, I don't know, something about that
That grabs people's.
grabs
Yeah,
people's
I like it.
attention.
Yeah,
Because, that's gonna be on both sides of
Yeah.
things that, a conscientiousness about this is a fiscal or this is about your bills.
wanna help me draft it?
Sure.
Okay.
I was gonna say, that's probably on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes, it is. So we,
Looking at a
maybe
mock-
I can, I'm trying to get a copy of the
Gonna
postcard that
grab
was used last
people in
time.
the, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I just had an idea, we were talking earlier about going to the Council on Aging to get responses. What if we hit the playgrounds?
That's what I was thinking about,
Sure.
PTG.
I
go
was
through
gonna
the
say, I
PTG.
feel like I am gonna do a good job on the, on the
Well-
PTG, I think Thoreau and the PTG group can get it, but I also was gonna send to Concord Family Network, which has got like a lot of young families,
Yeah,
which is which.
Okay,
Doesn't the school board have an all parents email list?
I don't know.
I,
The school does.
I.
School does, yeah, I get it.
I was talking to somebody who said, when I was talking about this, she said, oh, well, have you considered asking the school board? And,
Mhm.
well, they have.
and I wonder whether there's sensitivity to doing that.
There will be, because
There
it's
will
under
be.
the superintendent's.
The schools each have newsletters that go out that you can put
Yeah.
non-school things in the newsletter as, that, so you can ask the PTG head to put a link in the.
QR code.
I like that, yeah, that's a good
in
idea.
the-
I think it's
in
good,
the
that's a big-
Newsletters for Willard, Alcott and Thoreau, and then the preschools have it, yeah, CCHS
They're not go
has
through
it,
the school
CMS.
committee.
We do the PTG.
I-
Go through the
I-
PTG heads, if you go through the PTG heads,
I'll do that.
they'll be
And,
able to
you know-
advertise it. And Neshoba and Fen, I mean, all of the schools
Okay,
for
Neshoba.
residents.
Yeah, I can do the Neshoba one.
Okay.
And do the friends.
Oh, see it,
Right.
yeah, I could, well, yeah, I was on their board, that's easy.
Okay, so then
Okay,
that
we'll do that.
covers both ends of the
That'll be
demographic.
next, that'll be for the next meeting.
Yeah, and then there's also some, like, we use the West Concord Google group for,
Yeah.
a few things, so I can do that too. So if there's
Yeah.
other,
Yeah, we
if there's
can,
other parts of town that have this.
I also reached out to Celeste Marston at Concord Bridge,
Mhm.
yesterday, and she got back to me. The question was, would they accept what I thought of as an op-ed piece, or are there different ways of providing coverage in the bridge? And let me just go through her response to me. First thing she said is that either Dakota or someone named Trace
Yeah.
Saltzbrenner
Yeah.
would most likely be handling any news coverage. So another way to do this is to have them report as a news story what's going on. She said, we don't always cover individual task force or subcommittee meetings, given our short staffing. So it would be good if they could reach out to us personally with any questions going ahead, and I will affirm that to her. Separately, I can offer you the same opportunity as I did the town meeting study committee chair, which is for us to write a guest column. So that's what
Okay.
she's
that's
calling an op-ed, of absolutely no more than 400 words, explaining the survey, the goals, and how residents can get involved. Eric Moore did a piece last October. She said, we don't publish opinion pieces written on behalf of organizations,
Mhm.
so it would have to come from us,
Yeah.
Ellen, as co-chairs.
Okay,
And then we would have to be open to fact checking and editing.
sure.
They also write the headlines, which is fine. She said, we can try to work with timing requests, but we do not guarantee placement in a particular issue. So she gives me the dates for the upcoming print issues. They prefer to have guest pieces come in for editing no later than the Wednesday prior to the target publication date. I think that's all that we need from this message. So once we are clear that the survey is going forward, Rich, I know you've provided Ellen and me with an initial
I can
draft.
take a crack at taking it down to 400 words.
Yeah, okay.
We can too, don't worry about it.
Okay.
So I think we bring that to the next meeting so that
And-
all of us are in
yeah.
agreement.
I wonder if there's any, if she's gonna fact check, if it makes sense to send it by Meredith.
Well, maybe we see what it
See what
says.
it
But yeah,
Yeah.
let's,
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, that raises a bigger question. Wendy, I'd like your input on
Yeah.
this. Do you think Meredith should have eyes on the survey questionnaire?
I mean, you can send it to her, but I don't think it's necessary, not for what you're doing. I mean, the more important thing is your idea of using real numbers. I think that's more important in your survey. I think that's critical, just, I mean, and you're already saying, agreeing to do that, so your
Okay.
map check is not a problem. By the way, Dakota will probably cover the RTE. just
I already
as part of
asked,
The
yeah.
select board, I don't know that you should ask what you want. You
I did
have a conversation,
already.
But it probably will anyways,
You mean the October sixth meeting?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah,
He'll also put it in the context of, by the way, next month, that select board will be voting on RT. That's my guess. I don't know that,
Oh.
maybe you have more insight.
no, I did.
But that's what will come up in the select board discussion also, I'm sure.
So at the chair's breakfast, I said, we're gonna present to the select board October sixth.
Yeah.
And it would be good to then the select board will vote on the RTE, what date?
No, it's November. The rate hearing is November,
Oh, at the rate hearing, got it,
Right.
okay.
but that'll come up.
Got
I'm
it,
sure
okay.
some select boards can ask, the whole
Yeah.
purpose of this is trying to assess
Okay.
that and understand. But clarifying that our intention from the task force was not influencing this November, but trying to understand that probably implications up for the following year.
The November rehearing, will that be before or after the League of Women Voters? thing?
After, because I think
After.
the 19th or
Yeah.
in that range.
And that happens every year.
That was every year,
Yeah.
same, yeah.
So we have one more
Good point.
meeting before the October sixth presentation to the select board, just FYI. And what you're saying is he'll be covering that
He said, yeah, he
presentation.
covers
'cause
everything.
He's at the select board.
Yeah, so I had another discussion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I get.
So you probably don't really need to do anything, that it's a news article, or it's a newsworthy article, because it's a select board meeting.
There's a lot going on, I think, on October sixth, so it's all relative to what.
Okay.
No, but I'll tell her that she,
Yeah.
he or Trace should feel free to
Yeah,
contact
he's
each one of
on.
us. Before or after
And by
that.
the way, probably hit you up at the meeting.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right. So, I circulated a draft of a PowerPoint presentation. Ellen and I had gone back and forth on this a bit. After circulating this, Ellen also suggested one more page, one more slide. Sorry, why don't you just take one, and pass it along and give one to Wendy as well, please.
Oh,
Oh, this is the version one. Oh, yeah, okay, Ellen talked about this, yeah.
Thank you.
I went to the right.
I'll take it. Thanks.
Sorry.
No worries.
I should, so you can share. Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately for those online, we can't do screen sharing, so I can't show you this. Questions, comments, suggestions? Well, Ellen, do you want to?
Thank you.
describe what this-
This was something that I presented a long time ago, and the idea is really it's how do you define fairness, but I didn't want to use that word. So the idea is that, it is, the reason for the survey is because we really need income and assessment for every single respondent. There's not a good place to get that information anywhere else. And so what we will define is who benefits, and those are people who are below the break even. Who is gonna not benefit, in other words, your taxes will go up if you're above the break even. And low and high income, we haven't defined, but we will, after the survey information comes in. So the question is, if you look at the bottom, and those are blue, but you don't see it because it's gray. You wanna know how many of the low income homeowners are benefiting, and that's the cube that's A. How many aren't benefiting, and that's B, and we can go back and say, by the way, remember Council on Aging talked about people who've lived here forever, they bought their house for 50,000, now it's worth 1.5 million. That's the ones who will be maybe over 2.3 million. Those are the low income people we would miss, would not benefit, actually their taxes would go up based on the RTE. And the other piece, which is also an issue of fairness, and we call spillover. Just because you live in a low value or below break even home doesn't mean you're low income.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I know, this is John's point, and so what percentage of people, and to use John's words, are getting the RTE that don't deserve it or don't need it? And I think that's another critical question. So it's first, B, how many low-income people aren't benefiting because they live in a house above the break-even point? And then second, how many people are getting the RTE who don't actually need it just because they live in a smaller home? They could have downsized to that, or they could have just selected to live in a
This
low.
is like a type 1 and a type 2 error for drug trials.
Thank you. I didn't want to use anything like
That's
that.
like,
And I
let's
think
see what this is,
and
and then
so-
in my mind, this should be a 2 by
Square.
We could do it as square too. That was one of my questions.
this benefits, this, that, right?
Oh,
I
okay.
think we need to show
Like
what.
this.
Yeah,
I think
that's
we need-
usually how you should, yeah, that's like for a type 1, type 2 error.
Okay, I can do it.
I think high income and low income, I think we probably want to just show dollar values or something like that. I don't know how we're defining high income or low
Sure.
income.
We-
Right, so probably want to take thresholds,
Yeah,
unless we don't want to establish.
So the median income, is this not correct, Rich, in Concord is 212 per household?
Over 200.
So you could put the median, so we would break even is something, we could put 200,000, 200.
Well, I don't think $200,000 is being low income.
I know, but that is the median, we,
Well, we can put median income, but I wouldn't put low income.
But this is
Um,
a concept slide, right?
it's concept, whatever you wanna call
Yeah,
it.
I would not worry about defining it right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was related to the charge. The charge was, are we helping people with low income, especially seniors,
Yeah.
stay in town? That was the reason for the wording, and
Mhm.
we can change it
Yeah.
anyway. We
Well,
can have
when
it,
we show it, yeah.
yeah.
Cause
however you-
yeah, and then the other question is, how do we handle renters? My favorite subject, but,
Mm-hmm.
cause this is homeowners, right? But you're gonna have 20% of people. who
Okay, so
don't
how
benefit.
effective are RTE for homeowners?
And then the answer is a combination of this plus the 20% of people who are renters.
Okay,
Cause
So
this-
rather than trying to put everything into one slide,
Agree.
look at the rest of the
so
presentation.
this is just.
Do we need a
homeowners.
separate slide that addresses the renter issue?
Well, we need to label this slide accurately then. Because
Okay,
this
so-
one doesn't say, this one doesn't, it should be,
How
How
effective
effective is
are RTE for homeowners?
Yep.
Okay,
Well, for those that qualify, because I'm a homeowner, but I might not qualify, 'cause
I have to.
For
leave.
primary homeowner?
Yeah.
My-
For qualifying
on the
primary
line.
homeowners.
Yeah.
Just one comment. You have a lot of slides,
I know.
keep them all, but don't speak to them.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I expect you wouldn't, so,
yes.
but it's good.
We can interact
Yeah.
on the presentation.
okay. But yeah, this is
Yeah.
only homeowners qualifying and renters is a complete,
So primary homeowners.
I was again, primary homeowners.
Qualifying.
Homeowners are
Who are the
For
non?
residents,
You're less than a year
almost, okay,
eligible homeowners.
eligible, yeah. that's
okay,
fine.
how about that's a good word. But to frame it and say we're talking about eligible homeowners, now let's talk about this. And then
So
renters is separate.
you'll see the way I did it, the middle slides. I don't want to suggest that we've come to any conclusion, so a lot of them I label early findings. And so maybe we have an early findings slide on renters, impact on renters, and basically say they don't benefit.
Yeah, they
Right.
get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's
It's not fair.
renters and owners of secondary homes.
Yeah,
So
but I think, aren't we worried
Renters.
about the renters though specifically? 'Cause
renters and-
I care about the person who lives in this town,
Yeah.
who just chose to rent for his own, right?
Yeah, no, I think. To me, what we keep saying resident, so that. You know, I don't think we need to beat the secondary homeowners over the head. I mean, that's actually something I worry about in terms of the community. But I think you're right, the renters, we know are the folks that are more stressed by housing costs than the elder. And so I think the fact.
And we know that from the housing production survey.
Right,
And what percentage of Concord is?
25%.
I know,
So-
it's shocking.
It's shockingly
I know.
high. I went
Yeah.
back to the production plan to
Yeah.
pull these numbers for a conversation the other day. It's really, it's over 25.
So
so that would be a good thing to put into that slide, the 25% of residents or renters, and they will be And I
And-
say it, in fact, they will be hurt the most.
Well, yeah,
Make
well, I
sure
think,
that in these like survey groups that we get renters, are there like rental unit places
Oh.
that we could?
yeah, we can probably,
Advertise.
I would imagine there.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Cause if that's the group we.
We've talked about reaching out to renters, we've talked about reaching out
I
to
just-
landlords.
Yeah.
In here somewhere, can we put that 25%?
Yes, we'll put it in
Yeah.
the
And,
slide.
and also the fact,
In here.
there are few, yeah, there are few, the 25%, your point around that renters are disproportionately housing stretched. Frank,
We don't know.
I thought you
We
said
know
you
that.
had to date on that.
Yeah, it's in the HPP.
So then that says, okay,
Okay.
so 25%,
The Muse is the.
Alright.
Okay, I've got it.
okay, cool, thanks,
More housing stress.
okay.
It's 100 units.
Quadrant common, all those.
Yeah, those-
Wanted to mention, that you should be able to share your screen now under host tools if you wanted to. No.
All right,
Oh,
thank you.
I'll
So
get
you've
that.
changed something in the security?
Right, so if you go to host tools, just because I know you all have been struggling with this, if you go to host tools at the top, share screen is checked off, so you should be able to share.
All right, the problem is in this room, the laptop is welded to a
Oh, it's
display
that,
table and
So we are.
can anybody screen share or only the host?
So it would be under permissions, so the host should be able to screen share, a co-host should be able to screen share. Actually, all
And you-
participants can screen share right now.
let me just.
Ellen's gonna double
I'll
check.
keep going, I'll check that.
All right, so we've agreed that there will be a slide on renters.
That'd be great.
We've agreed that we'll include some version of the new slide that Ellen is showing us.
Okay.
Yeah, agreed.
John,
I need to
what's
go,
up?
I'm just looking, I need to go through this in more detail, I apologize. I've been
That's all
not
right,
really
that's
busy.
all right. Feel free to send me comments.
Is there somewhere here that we talk about the overall dollar value that shifted in Concord
No.
up from, cause that to me is part of it also, it's like. How much money are we trying to shift around here? And how much of it ultimately is getting to our target population? And how much, and how much, and what's the amount of work that's going to get that?
But turn off your.
All right, I got it. Keep going.
So I think somewhere here, just like, how big is what we're talking about here? Like, are we moving $10 million? I think we talked about this.
I
earlier.
think it, no, I mean, that would have to come from Meredith, I think. I mean, I think I did a rough calculation of 6 million.
It's-
That was my back of the envelope.
If we had it easily, then
Yeah,
we don't need. to
I
do
don't
that. So,
know
But
it.
I do, before this thing's done, before we're done, I think it's an.
I mean, for our report,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it here.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm good. If we had it, it would be good to include. We don't have it. But for the ultimate report, I think that's part of, I think that's part of what we heard from Marlboro or somewhere was that the
Yeah.
administrative benefit relative to the dollar swinging wasn't worth it.
Well, that's also, with Marlboro, the big issue was that home values were very clustered.
Mhm.
It wasn't the spread in home values.
Yeah, but there was
Right.
also, somewhere there was an administrative burden. It came up, I forget whether it was Marlboro or somewhere.
Well, I will say, we just had a conversation with Lane Partridge. Lane preceded Meredith as the town assessor here in Concord. And he was shocked that Concord adopted the RTE, in part because he knew what a work burden it was going to impose on the assessor's office.
And not just, and also just kind of the divide within the town that it's created for relatively, what may be relatively small dollars.
And,
It's created different groups within the town.
but that might be, again, that's something for the final report.
Yeah,
and
totally,
that's like
totally.
That, you know,
Agreed.
perfect storm of the assessments going up, the schools, rebuilding the schools, and then the RT added into it, just seemed unfair, and I think the conversation was, you know, that's where I think we asked the question, what do you think about redistribution?
Abby, I'd love your opinion on this. When we were talking to Lane, he also said the mega mansions in town were built during the tech boom era. Were particularly popular during the tech boom era. Lots of money, people wanted really big houses. However, after the tech boom, they became less popular to the point, correct me if I'm wrong, I
No,
think
you
you
said that-
said the values,
The values rose less than smaller homes. But then with
the
the
pandemic.
COVID pandemic, people wanted big houses, they wanted maybe the grandparents to look after the kids so they can work, et cetera. So that the big houses actually went up more after 20 than the smaller houses. I mean, I don't know whether that's.
Well, the
true,
assessed
but that
value,
was his
I don't
perception.
prove the assessed values, that's true, whether the market value is, yeah, different. I know there was a time when I worked with Lane on some of this, that, assessments. Seemed out of line with the size of the house, you know, the McMansions, if you will, of the eighties and nineties, which were built to be big, not necessarily structurally as. Strong as something that you would see built. It today, because the codes have changed and the the rules have changed on how you have to build a home. So the part of why construction costs are high right now is because there's much more to building a home than there was. So in the eighties and nineties, there was, you know, it was different. So you could build a large home for lower cost, and so those homes being assessed at as high a value as. Just based on square footage didn't make a lot of sense at one point. I know that was sort of, it was being discussed in the 2018 to, I don't know when Lane left. I think it was 2022, somewhere in there. So. So yes, I think, when I'm doing a market analysis on a home, we factor in. Sort of how much of your home is over. 5,000 square feet, because the meat of the market, the sweet spot is between 3,500 and 4,500 square feet. So when you get over 5,000 square feet, unless it's something like an ADU, you know, a separate apartment, which is beneficial because it feels like separate housing.
Yeah.
For someone to either rent or to have your in-laws in, or has a special purpose, like that has a, you know, an outbuilding with a barn or something that has usable space. People consider that a different kind of value. But when it's either you know, stretched to the third floor or the basement, or it's is just huge, vast, huge rooms, that square footage isn't as meaningful as the,
Interesting.
you know, in the in-between space.
It's how
So,
you live.
so we just, yeah, so there's a sliding scale, you know, there's a scale of what square footage is meaningful in that, so we don't do everything based on. So
is
assessments and
market
market
assessment,
value
not
are different, yes, I mean. But that's a hard thing to calculate in an assessment, they're not gonna necessarily deduct, they do deduct, you know, if your attic has. Eaves and they only calculate the livable space, what they could qualify as livable space, but then, you know. People were building out and they were finishing basements and finishing attics. And they were making living space where. In the 70s, we weren't making living space, you know, it was. If you played in the basement, it was on a concrete floor, so.
Yeah.
So there's been a change in what space means, and during the pandemic, people got very smart about space. They were moving out of office buildings and moving into their home offices, and that became space, and you can actually write off. Part of a home office if you're using that for on your taxes, so there's different ways people calculated. Their total space, work and home. So those offices then, you know, those spaces that could be home offices, and some people did that in literally a Reed's Ferry shed, you know, is that square footage or not, you know, living space that they'd put a little heater in, and
Yeah.
so people got very creative during COVID to create the sense of.
But so there was this perfect storm, right? The assessment was done in 2022,
Yeah.
just as the large spaces were surging in popularity.
Exactly, and the spike of the peak of our market values was 2023. So that 2022 to 2023, that's when we saw the, you know, what I would call a spike of. The, you know, the crux of the spike,
Yeah.
yes, in pricing.
I'm
which
surprised it
is-
was that late, because interest rates came down in 20 and 21. And I thought that.
Yeah, well,
drove the
I think
surge.
that's certainly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a conglomeration of things.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
not just,
interesting.
you know, it was, some of it is panic buying in the pandemic, some of it was panic buying due to the election, due to coming up, due to the rates. They were all in, and when I say panic buying, we also saw people who bought something so quickly, they then said, whoops.
Yeah.
And then they didn't get back that value. That happened, you know, enough times that there's a story there too.
Mhm.
Where then the resale of it a year later wasn't the same, so. So, and then also construction costs being high really changed what you could buy
That's really
and do.
interesting. I had no idea that that made such a difference on market.
Oh, well, we've created so many codes and laws on what needs to happen in the level of construction materials, so it's higher quality, but it's also just,
More expensive.
more expensive
Yeah.
products. But then, add to that people's concern of tariffs when you're bringing products in, so there are a lot of reasons things have gone up in cost. And values because of that, sales, especially in the larger homes over 5,000 square feet. Those prices have suffered, they've come down or flattened. They're harder to sell because of how much you're gonna get taxed, how much, the
Yeah.
cost of
Your market
heating it,
has to be
keeping it,
smaller when you're
and
at-
the cost of living
Mhm.
has
too.
risen,
Yeah.
so.
Mhm.
So it's the perfect storm.
Mhm.
We've created, we being the town of Concord has created more swirl in the storm
Mhm.
with this.
Interesting.
And I've also heard from, parents, people who wanted to come into town and bought I wouldn't say the biggest house, the best house that they could afford, thinking, I want my kids in school, I really love Concord, and then kind of seeing taxes go up and their income not going up at the same time. And
Yes.
suddenly saying, I thought I was well off and now I feel financially stressed.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's a real factor.
Yeah.
That people always assume that once you lock the mortgage in, your housing cost as a percentage of your current income would go down. And it's not necessarily true anymore.
Our taxes went up enough to negate the
Yeah,
value of the low interest mortgage.
Not to mention risk to income with all of the shenanigans going on right now.
True.
You know.
Okay.
All right, so, I will revise the.
Do you want
PowerPoint.
comments like via email and
Sure.
stuff to
Yeah.
just kind of send you?
Yeah, unless, if
information?
it's something easy to say now, do it.
I just think we need to make sure we're like on some of the, phone interviews, like you've got a couple bullets on what you found, like I just wanna make sure we're giving a cross-sectional, like it's not all yay. There were some negative phone interviews, so
Mhm.
I wanna make sure we're showing also, like, yes, I don't have the slides up, I forgot my.
Well,
computer
maybe,
today, but,
how
like,
about, would it
Page
make,
4.
I just wanna
is
make
for
sure
early
you
finding.
Well,
include both.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I still am working through, so we have 17 that are completed and I had not read through every single one, and so I have both a table. About the results, I have a little method section for a report that I wrote and some tables, and then I'm finishing up, so I can just
Improve.
I
that.
can.
can we have one slide then that Shannon does that's, who do we interview, 17, like so
Yeah,
far?
I was hoping to
And
get,
then
yeah,
quotes,
yes.
that, I think it's worth a whole slide because.
Well, there is a
I mean,
whole.
there's one called early findings, but.
But it says it has real estate impressions in there too, I just meant
Oh,
the
you mean just the
Yeah.
the resident or, yes,
residents.
resident interviews?
And then even possibly one for realtors. I
Mm-hmm.
think that there are two conversations, I think each are really
I don't
interesting.
know that the realtors had anything to say, do you?
Well, maybe it's just,
Yeah, we've done,
Yeah.
Kathy and I have done some interviews. It's been somewhat informal for me, but just, collecting information. We're really getting the same repeating
It's good.
theme that there's not a lot of discussion in real estate transactions about there is about taxes, but not about the RTE. It doesn't
Mhm.
really come up.
It just comes up as like, it never comes up specifically, it's the taxes are high.
Mhm.
Yes,
Randomly, a person would mention an RT, so, but no, it's not
it's not a conversation.
we do get
either
a
side.
good number of, and this came from other realtors that I spoke to that about sellers deciding to sell because
Because of
their taxes are just gone up so much and they don't, they're furious, and they want out. They partly out of principle and
Yeah.
partly out of financial.
Yeah.
Stress.
I think this might be interesting to have one that's the residential, the interviews, and then one on realtors, because I think that the select board would wanna, we had two different streams, and I think that would be interesting
well,
to.
that's
Yeah, I'll put the information, you sent that to me, I'll put the information.
That'd be great.
together.
I'll come up with a slide, and share some of the stuff I have.
Yes, I just wanna make
Perfect.
sure it's like across the board, cause I don't want them to show that,
Mhm.
I don't know, there were some negative people for reasons.
Well,
Whatever they are.
Whether it's positive or negative, should just be the findings.
That's right,
the
right,
findings are. So
exactly.
I'll put together a slide.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And, some writing for our report.
And we have one more meeting before the presentation to the board, so if you can get those to me in the next week, then I'll send around a revision. That will be great. Okay.
Oh, and I'll send you, by the way, the RTE one for FY 25.
Okay.
Just mine.
I have downloaded Meredith's November 2024 presentation, so I can pull those numbers from that.
I have it in a table already,
Alright.
to make it simpler for you.
Excellent,
You don't have to create the chart.
excellent. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to do a
Yes,
quick brief
please.
update. Okay, so, thank you for everyone who has done interviews. Our group has done a total of 17 interviews. And I wrote up a little method section that I can send, the link to send around, and I'm working on some results. I wanted to let everyone know where we are in terms of the demographic breakdown. So the two variables for which we felt were the most important to sample purposefully to get a variety of responses were age and assessed home price. So I should have sent this, but I wasn't. So for age, we had 1 under 40, and I don't think we're gonna really, that bucket's real low in Concord. So the fact we got one's really impressive. 4 40s, 5 50s, and this was people's best guess for when we filled in the table. I didn't like actuarially check any of these. 3 60s, 2 70s, 2 80s for a total of 17. So that's pretty reasonable in terms of spread. And then for assessed home price, we had 1 renter, 1 under 750K. I broke it into really tiny buckets just for this group. For 750 to 125, 5, 125 to 175, 2, 175 to 225, 2, 225 to 3, and then 2, 3 million plus. So,
Got it.
we did a
Perfect.
pretty good
That's
job.
nice.
See, when you purposely sample, this is what you should get. So, good job, us.
Aren't we I mean, I don't think it's enough to go for more, but that sounds to me like we're skewed a little bit to the high end on value.
How many under 1.5?
It's probably half and half. And there are probably more homes under, well, I don't know, the median
Under
home price
1.5.
is 2.
Two.
Well, that's not
I'm
the,
talking
Oh,
about,
oh,
we're skewed to the very high end homes, not badly, I'm not saying we
No,
have.
it's-
But if
I'd say the
about a
opposite.
half are under 1.5.
Yeah.
In our sample.
so here's what I was gonna say, is that in an ideal world, I think we'd end up with 20 for a couple of reasons. One, people really love even numbers, myself included, even though there's no meaningful value.
Yeah.
2, John has one
Get you
outstanding.
Jennifer Clark for
That-
certain.
And well, you've got one that you were gonna do
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
I have Jennifer Clark that's
Yeah.
still on my list, so that's 2 that are not in this.
Yeah,
And then maybe I could look through, if you give me the age, cause the home value of that person
Yeah.
I could find, but I couldn't find their age
Yeah.
without like extra
50s,
sleuthing.
50s.
Okay, 50s. And then I didn't know Jennifer Clark's age.
50s.
Okay, 50s. Okay, so then I'll redo this with assuming we will get these 2, and then we maybe could pick one more, and then
If we
get
do one
20.
more, I think it ought to be a renter. We got
yeah.
We only
25%
have
of
one
the
winner,
town,
yeah.
we
Do you
only
wanna do
got,
John Bottoms?
and if it's the renter, I
Oh,
think
we
it is.
could, yeah.
It's a special case, is that?
No, it's Barrett's Mill Farms.
Yeah,
let's do-
so
let's
that's
do-
a special.
John Bottoms,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, does someone know?
that's his.
That's my mom's
And
right,
renter.
been there for like 50 years or 40 years. since
I
1985.
Yeah, no, he's my neighbor.
Yeah,
I can go talk to him.
Okay,
yeah,
He
he's
said-
he's good.
He said he invented the internet.
He's really smart.
okay.
Yes, but it's a character.
Crazy.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Why
Okay.
is he still renting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cause outdoors it gets
Actually,
Yeah, so that I think would be great. If you get yours, if
I'll do
Ellen
John.
gets John and I take one, we'll be at 20. I'll do the table again with the 20 and make sure that it's
You want me to
sufficient.
know?
But what I wanted to say was that I think the
Do it.
spread is good, and I think,
I can actually do it in person.
that's meaningful to show to people that we made like this effort. And then I think that the intention around doing this was twofold. One, to help inform our survey, which I think it really did.
Yes.
In terms of asking some questions in different ways or thinking about different things. So that's called subsequent mixed methods design. So we did some qualitative work to then inform our quantitative work, but then also I'll write up some results where this like stands on its own, because sometimes a survey, and this is not going to be a high enough N in the qualitative, nor did we reach saturation, where in the real estate group, you did reach saturation. Everyone kept saying the same thing. You know that you talked to as many people as you could. That's actually like what you want to take your study published. On our end, we did.
I love it.
Good job, team. On our end, we didn't get even like you could get like 3 groups that are saturated, but we don't have that. we probably won't get that because our
Do you,
N is
do you feel
small.
that across the 17, we just have 17 different?
We don't have 17 different, we've got different stories, but I just don't think we have like, so it's hard to do anything with
17.
well, 17 I mean, I've published more or less, but it's the demographic breakdown on 2 variables, but different stories that it's hard to say like, these types of people think this, or
Yeah.
this is a story that comes out consistently. So I'm gonna keep, there's a couple of these I didn't, like I went through Rich's summaries, but I didn't read the interview or like get the interviews, connect to AI them, but I'm working on it. So I'm gonna come up with something, but, I do think sometimes survey results don't give you like, some type of
Nuance.
inkling of why or nuance, and so I think there should be some part of this that stands on its own. So my goal is to get a little, like I have a little method section. It's tiny because I know our report won't be very long, or we don't want this to be very long, and then I'll do a little findings section for this alone and explain that this helped us drive our quantitative work.
And the qual, well, to your point, I think what you, just confirming I understand what you said, the qual is gonna help explain the quant, right? Yeah, yeah.
Never have the like one-to-one, like
Yeah.
it helps, it's somewhat explanatory, it's like fleshy outy. Typically what happens for our studies at work is if we have, like, I'm in a big one with reviewing Medicaid state policy in Washington, and like the quant, it's about homelessness. And Washington did a cool thing where they are letting people get housing support, and housing counts as something you can use Medicaid dollars for, which is really unusual on a waiver. So what happens is if the quant falls flat, then you do more interviews. So then our group, like, if you don't
Yeah.
find something, like you can't explain how your policy
Yeah, that makes sense.
impacted whatever, then you're like, ooh, we were gonna do 20,
well,
let's do
But
40.
we do have,
Actually, here's a question for you.
So we do it all
we
the
do
time.
have,
We say they're buddies.
they're not as maybe fleshed out as the interviews, but we do have the open-ended
Sure.
for a
yeah, and
number
some
of
people-
questions.
And some
that-
people will skip them and some people will write
Exactly.
about them, and we'll see what we get. It just
But-
depends on how high your N
Got
is
it.
and like how varied, how good diversity we get. But often, basically, a qualitative team will get a quant team who can explain something out of.
No, I mean, the qualitative, the quotes are what I think validates the numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
People listen to quotes, they look at numbers and they kind of go, huh? But when you hear a quote, it resonates.
I think quantitative outsells people when the quantitative is definitive. So if if you quantitatively find that like 95% of people
Yeah.
were helped, I heard 9.7 times out of 10, you're supposed to pull the flag when you putt or whatever. Like that is a fact, right? I'm just saying, like, when you get 9.7 times out of 10,
Yeah.
like people are like, let's do this thing. But most quantitative isn't like that. And so then to latch onto something, you typically need the quote in the story.
No, I agree.
Which is why I'm
I agree.
working so hard to get
Thank
some things like not just the narratives, which are nice, but making sure that I can get some direct verbatims.
I think you're perceived, you talked about it the last time, like, it's not perceived fairness, but you said the right word, like. Material significance is gonna be different, like.
Yeah.
Oh, that was it. That was,
I think that, I quote that all the time, I think that's like an amazing thing, I don't know why, but like. Everybody's gonna have a different significance on the qualitative, right?
Yeah,
It's gonna be
yeah.
significant to me if it's 1%, it's not gonna be significant to you if it's 1%,
Yeah, so
and it's gonna be hard to
Yeah,
figure
so
that
like
out.
we'll publish a paper sometimes where we'll say, we statistically significantly improved people's blood pressure from 130 to
Right.
120, but it won't matter at all to those people because neither way they were gonna be on blood pressure meds, right? So like it doesn't actually, the like personal significance or the health significance or whatever, like isn't actually there, even though statistically we have this like thing that we dramatically reduced whatever. Just because our N was big and we were able to bring diastolic down or whatever.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily matter to the people.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I think the survey is gonna help with some of that, we can really see the actual numbers, and then it's gonna be
Mhm.
interesting to see what people think about those numbers, right?
Yeah.
$1,000 to you is not $1,000
Yeah,
to somebody
that's
else, right?
exactly right.
And so it's just where you put that, and 10-point blood pressure points, and blood pressure only matters if your blood pressure is really high or whatever, right? It just depends, so.
If you have
Kudos.
a different qualitative story, it's gonna be hard to then figure out.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
so
where
the
the-
qualitative stuff is like all over the map, we don't really have a consistent story like our realtors, and the numbers are.
Yeah, and
it's
so
gonna be
either
really
we could
difficult.
decide we need to like do, if we could, like, I mean, we can go past 20, people feel like they have the capacity to do this, but let me try to get a little summary first and see where I feel like some
Yeah.
gaps are, because this is what, I mean, I actually The upside is I do this all day, so.
Have you,
High blood pressure.
do you think there's a chance that we will want to speak with some of these survey respondents? Because one of the things I have done in the past is include a question was, would you be open to speaking with someone?
Yeah.
Yes, no, and then contact information just at the very end.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we're gonna, but that provides us, oh,
So
that's.
if we do that, we just have to, in my opinion, we say at the beginning of the survey, we won't be able to connect this data to you.
Yeah.
So it's actually not de-identified, it's
Okay.
actually anonymous, which is like a very different thing. So like surveys can be anonymous, like we
Yeah.
literally have no idea who you are. But interviews are never anonymous, right? You know who the person is, they're de-identified. And so we just need to say at the end, if we want to have that option, like, please know if you would like to be contacted by a member of a team and provide your email, your data is now, we have to like say something,
Mhm.
like you can be connected to your data. We now know who you are. And I think because it's financial, we know who you are.
Yeah, I'm.
No, I don't care what, we don't need to speak with people.
It's like, I think that's a great data collection tool. We don't use it for sensitive data at the hospital.
An
because-
alternative would be to have them know one of our email addresses.
Yeah, right. I mean,
If you want to reach out, you can email.
Yeah, if you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you'd like to speak with, actually,
But
wait a
then we
second.
still won't be.
I don't think we want that, because I thought, well, maybe we did. But I am thinking about, all right, are we all gonna start getting tons of emails from
Yeah.
people like, well, I want everybody to be like, oh,
And so
no, I'm
another
not, no.
possibility is to ask if the town could set up an email address for the tax.
Do we-
Do we want to?
Want to.
Yeah, I almost wanted to say, this is a question for us. Would we want the opportunity to reach out to these respondents and have a qualitative discussion? That's
I'm
just.
sure in an ideal world, but
I
having been,
worry people won't give their feedback.
Okay.
also having been bombed in a particularly tense period on the finance committee with over 1,000 emails one night,
Yeah,
I.
Yeah.
I don't want them back.
So
Yes.
maybe
Okay,
this
so let's ignore, we don't need that.
That's our job, is
Yeah.
to field those questions, but there could be a place people are directed, not necessarily an email, but if they want to get involved, feel free to.
Sorry, this was more
attend
about,
these meetings.
I was more thinking this would be, so like, oh, we don't understand this response to this question. Why would they say that?
I
That's why I want to follow up with the people, but I think we're good. I think we're good.
Yeah.
I think that's why we do the qualitative interviews.
They're
is
just separate and
yeah.
separate. I think I get the point,
Yeah.
and we have this discussion at work all the time, and most of the time, it is not worth making it potentially anonymous. And for us at work, it's also like, there's a
There's
method.
also a question, if people
Yeah,
say,
we don't have an IRB.
Right, it's a methods issue for us, so like that, can't do it.
the challenge too is that people could get very personal and say, I don't understand my assessment, what's
Yeah.
going on here? And, it just would generate, more work for Meredith, because we couldn't answer that.
Yeah.
So.
If we
All right,
think.
so
we
nice
don't-
idea.
Yes.
Nice idea.
If we think we don't have enough participants, then we can talk about, because there's no, so for the reason that this influenced our survey, we needed to stop at this number because we needed to get the survey.
Yeah,
But if
down
we're
to return.
saying, the survey's
Go ahead.
done, if we're saying, oh gee, we actually love the qualitative more than we thought, we'd love to try to get a little bit
We can
more.
stack
We can-
Yeah.
That's different,
Yeah.
right? So let me do this and try to get something to everyone and people can say.
I'd
That's
love
a
to
good
see if
idea.
we're leaning a certain, I'd love to see
Yeah.
if you have a trend, like we go to trend, and if
Yeah.
you don't.
What
Then we should try to fill in the gap and even potentially,
Yeah, and we
attune
don't,
the questions to what we're asking in the survey or what we thought we would want to know in the survey. So maybe it's already in the qualitative and really
Yeah.
the survey actually followed a lot off of your interview questions.
I think my guess, my speculation is that, Eric had brought up a philosophical question. I think we're sort of getting at, people have different philosophies of
Yeah.
how to manage their finances and what matters to them. And so I just, we're
I
not
mean,
gonna
one is-
necessarily solve that.
Yeah.
There's gonna be different philosophies.
One
no, but
thing
it's nice to know, are there, so I agree, and I think like if you did enough interviews, you could say, there are 4 primary philosophies in Concord, these are what they are. Most people fall to these 3. That's like the kind of work, you're not gonna be able to say like, this is the answer, but if
But I
you're
think our-
really good at collecting data, you could say
You
like.
need a lot more than
We talked,
20.
yeah, we talked to 60 people and we actually realized that there are these kinds of types of people and these are the kind of general philosophies we have.
So let's see where we are in December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once the survey's done, and we have
We can
until
keep
March.
going.
Yeah, we can do
Interviews.
something if we
Yeah.
want to. And but I'll get us a early findings.
And
And-
kudos to you, because you've started report writing.
Oh, yeah, I always report right as I go.
Well, that's awesome, and just a reminder that all of us at some
Well, I mean, we
point.
can start writing some things about
Yeah.
how the RTE works and pass it by narrative, for example, because we did say we would do that. When we wrote something, we'd be sure that it was, correct.
Hence my question to Wendy, can we run this, should we run this by her?
Yeah.
I
but
mean, in
maybe not the
particular,
survey. But I think that maybe not the survey, but certainly anything we write
well, the
about.
explainer for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll revise that and then I think we send it to
That's a
her.
good idea, yeah.
Okay.
I have dates up here.
Did you,
oh, sure.
Rich, just one quick on the ACS survey,
Yeah.
you were looking for
Ah,
some
thank you, yeah.
specific.
Yeah, we should, let me just, before John, John hopefully has the answer.
Thank you.
Our HSO was willing to do something for us, but they said, we can't get taxes. And, I said, you don't have home value or taxes broken out. And this was referring to the ACS.
Mhm.
Taxes broken out as a component of, housing costs. And they said, no, they couldn't find it in the ACS. John, you say you found it.
What I was looking for was for 22 and 4, these were the two data points I was looking for, was question 22 and questions 44. How much you think this house and lot, apartment or mobile home would sell for if it were for sale, assessed value, right? What is this person's total income during the past 12 months? And you can break it down, so that gives me income.
That's
house value.
income and house
Yeah.
value,
Right.
not taxes.
So you
And then-
get value.
But it says.
And then you've got, there are all sorts
Well,
of subcomponents.
that value,
You can approximate taxes.
Yeah,
can
I think-
approximate taxes, because we know where they live.
Yes.
Right.
And we know the year. So let me go back and unless.
Can I speak with the person? I'd be happy, or join the
Yeah.
call, just so if there are any
Why
questions.
don't I set up a call with
Okay.
both of us?
Okay,
And so in there is a fill in on what your income was the last 12 months.
yep, exactly.
So then we will know the actual range.
Yeah, no, they can,
That's great.
they can do income versus total housing costs. They said they couldn't get value or taxes, but
Yeah,
it looks like value. I mean, what they don't have is assessed value. It's what you
Yeah.
think your house.
yeah, that's gonna be true for all of our stuff, yeah.
So it's gonna be
Stated.
an approximation.
Same with income.
So,
An approximate market value, not an approximate assessed value.
Yeah,
But they're not
We-
supposed to. be
Yeah,
taxed.
this is from the homeowner's perspective?
Yeah,
Yeah.
homeowners group.
Okay, I
Is that-
walk into a lot of meetings where people are really off on what they think their home value.
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm
I
sure.
bet it's most of your meetings, actually.
So
Isn't that
that's-
good for your job?
that's an important question because Abby, if you're saying, people's assessment of what their home is worth is unrealistic. And probably most people in this town have never looked at their valuation, their assessor's card unless they got hit by a big tax increase. I'm thinking that maybe, it isn't worth it. I mean, we do know housing cost burden by age and by renter versus owner. What John's saying is we could get it by house value or we could get taxes, we could back into taxes. But if the
We also can
value,
get income
is-
My,
if the value is not,
accurate.
realistic, then
Right, this is.
I just
I'm not
think
sure whether it's worth doing the analysis beyond
Yeah.
what we have.
the survey
And
is
so
a big
the-
problem too.
Yeah, I was
Because that's
gonna
kind of
say,
for the
our
survey.
survey is asking, again, it's asking for what is the approximate assessed value?
So if it's a homeowner's perception of value, they may or may not be looking at their assessment for that.
Exactly,
They
so
may
it's
be,
not-
looking at the Zestimate on Zillow, honestly, which we all say, I always have to teach people that. Please don't let that guide your choices. I mean, it might be accurate, it might not, but it's not an algorithm that we use locally. So I think you just need to make sure it's clear that the information you're taking is perceived homeowner value, not
Actually,
actual value
Definitely.
that would be marketable. It's just, there's
But
a
that's-
nuance of that.
That's the question, and I defer to you on this one. I mean, how often are they really wrong? Because if they're mostly right, then I think it's worth the extra effort to get this analysis across a
Yeah.
broader
The
set of
only way-
communities, which means we can break it down more finely by
Yeah,
income.
the only way you would know if they're mostly right is if they actually went to sell their home and it sold. It's the only way we get real market value
right.
as a sale. But what I would say is I think it's still valuable information. Because the perception of value is what informs someone's decisions on where to live
Mhm.
and what how they feel about their taxes.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. It doesn't matter what it actually happened. If I feel like this is, you know,
It's plus or minus percent.
It's gonna
gotta
be, yeah, it's
here.
gonna be in the zone, hopefully.
it would always
on
really matter, I
average.
think, to our analysis, if it were skewed by income level. So if high income people way overstated and low income people way understated. It's all proportion.
I think it's a valuable, I just would
I
wanna,
do it.
I would wanna make sure it's labeled as homeowner's perception of
Yeah.
value, but I think it's still.
Okay, the
Uh,
action
the
item is
valuable-
let me set up a
Yeah.
conversation with John and myself and the folks at our HSO.
Yeah, cause I think,
This would push back the date at which we could get it, because I said at this point, I didn't give them the go ahead if we couldn't get home value.
Well, hopefully you can set up this call.
yeah,
sooner
I'm happy
rather
to
than
call
later.
whenever.
So a question for the whole group is, the question we've got now on value is, what is the approximate assessed value of your Concord resident? Do you think people will know assessed means assessment?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then we're set.
I don't know that they're gonna answer it that way.
They're gonna, you know,
You're not
how
gonna
they-
be able to control that.
again, it's one of these things. where, like,
Self-reported data is what it is.
Same with income. It's not-
Why wouldn't you just say, what is your assessment? What is your home assessment? Or. Instead of,
Yes, that's-
is there a different, more direct way to ask that, I guess is my question.
Okay, one,
You need to make sure people know.
What is the
exactly
assessed value of your home?
Of your Concord home, right?
we just say that, the assessed value of your home, so we,
I think assessed value is fine, I'm just saying,
Okay,
if you're
alright.
wondering.
I
how-
think all this stuff is very,
No,
Yeah.
assessed value is assessment, but I just.
I think it's, you know, all this is self-reported.
Yeah.
And so by definition, it's gonna be,
And the ranges are enough that it's within the range of relativity. I'm not gonna say my assessed value is 2.2 when I live.
yeah,
in
my house is like.
Not home, that's not, it's even closer to 2 million.
When you're
so.
living in a garage.
Right, exactly.
Do
I think
people,
it's-
yeah, do people report roughly more or less generally, or are people up in every direction?
Before 2023?
Like today.
2023 or after?
Like today, if you ask 100 people in
It-
town, are
this-
people more roughly 10% low, high, or is it like people are scattered? Like it's like.
So Lane Partridge, speaking of it, did a lot to get assessments more in check. And previously they had been low and people, it was just, we had to explain to buyers, like, the assessment's not gonna be in line with market price at all. Then, a lot got, you know, the assessment went way up across the board for everybody. And in 2023, the assessments were based on the 2022 pricing, which then also went way up. So there were two big jumps.
Yeah.
Both the reassessment during Lane's time and then the 2022 reassessment. So there were two really big jumps. So now we have price, sometimes the assessment's above what we actually can sell the house for. And so homeowners, you know, there's two things happening. One is what they're paying taxes on and either frustrated with or oblivious to. I don't,
Yeah.
it depends if they're tuned into it. And then, if they were planning to move or plan to move, what they could get for their home, they want, you know, some people want many people want the assessment to reflect low, but want to sell high.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's
Oh,
that
that's great.
too.
But
Taxes,
just use
no
it as
taxes.
overestimate or underestimate the value of their home. Or
I
it's
would
no
say
direction.
they,
There's no direction.
I think people can be pretty accurate
Okay.
using the assessment of valuing their home. I mean, I think that because of the market being so strong, I think if anything, people overvalue it.
Okay.
They think they can go out a little stronger than they probably should right now.
That's useful to
So,
know, just in
yeah.
terms of a self-report. So
Mhm.
close
Yeah.
to
Okay, good.
accurate, but people might slightly overreport.
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends, it really relates to how closely people are watching all the stuff, the financial markets and
Yeah.
good analysts, so in what business they're in, or
Yeah.
what their
For
line of
sure.
work is. Some people are completely, it's not their thing.
All right, moving along, meeting schedule.
So this I have up here, meeting schedule, this is-
Nobody can see it.
Oh, okay, I don't know how to do this.
Basically, I just took all of our current meetings and emailed him, was like, I'm holding all these times, but should I not be? Because
So that
Wait,
whole
I can make this
invite that
bigger.
went out from someone who no longer works for the town.
Great,
So delete that invite.
okay,
And for the moment, we are looking at every other Thursday at
Yeah.
8:30 here.
Right,
With the
and
exception of the two holidays.
so it's like, the discussion might be, we have nobody, sorry, you can't read this, but November 27th puts us on Thursday. And Christmas, December 25th, obviously, we're not gonna meet then, so can we just, is it okay to move it to Tuesday?
Of the Thanksgiving.
Of Thanksgiving and Christmas, I don't know, people,
I can do neither.
okay. So,
Holiday weeks just may be tricky.
We're just gone.
And maybe we just. skip
okay,
those
you
weeks.
admit the holiday weeks.
I'm gonna have a conflict with a lot of Thursday mornings, so I'm just may not be. there
Okay,
for many,
that's fine.
Just, it's gonna be tricky, so.
I guess
It just-
every Thursday too.
Yeah, just, I thought we were gonna alternate, evening and morning, but if we're doing every time a morning, I'm probably gonna.
Well, how do
get here
people
every
feel
other-
about alternating?
I'm good alternating.
I can
Okay.
too, I just have 2 board meetings that meet in the evening already, so as long as it doesn't alternate onto my alternating board meetings in the evening, then I'm
Or
okay.
do they meet on Thursdays?
Oh, no, sorry, they don't meet on Thursday, alternating Thursday morning and evening, I thought you were saying alternating
What
days
time,
of the week.
what Thursday evenings work for you guys?
Are you
We
saying
were doing-
alternating Thursdays
Either,
morning?
it's
and
just
evening?
that Thursday, I'm gonna have a
Yeah.
standing
So mine-
commitment on Thursday morning, so
Yeah.
it'll be difficult to.
So we
Mine meets
Go back
every,
and forth.
every,
If we went
One-
8:30 and then 6 p.m.,
Mhm.
8:30, 6
On
p.m.
Thursday?
on
I can
Thursdays.
6 p.m. is gonna be really rough, my husband's not usually home by then, so I have my kids with me.
Give me a time.
7:30? No,
I'm open to whatever you wanna do, so Thursdays,
6 o'clock, just like literally when my husband shuts the
8:30?
door and then gets like our
And-
kids to dinner and bed. It's a really hard time to.
7?
But 7?
7 is 7, okay?
I probably 7 work. I have once a month, a Thursday
Okay.
evening, 7 o'clock meeting, so as long as it doesn't hit that. same month.
So next Thursday, you okay with 8:30?
Yes,
October
I
3rd.
have all the ones on my calendar. pegged,
Okay,
And
all
that's
right.
why I was like, but are we gonna switch them?
And sorry to be the pain, but I'm traveling, I had said this before, I'm traveling on the 2nd, so I will not be here on.
That's
October
okay,
2nd.
I mean, to some degree, if we send stuff out and people can comment via email, that'd be great.
So are we meeting in person at 7 PM?
Yes, we are always meeting in person, but Zoom is always an option.
Okay, yes, I can zoom
Okay.
at 7 PM. When I
Yeah,
get here at 7.
You're the-
It's still gonna be
you're the
going to
kids.
bed.
So 7 PM on the 16th is our first 7 PM.
Yes,
Okay, so can I send a calendar?
Yeah,
invite
that'd be
to
great.
People?
Thank you, Shane.
oh, that is perfect,
Then
okay.
I at least have it correct on my calendar and then you all will notice whether it's wrong.
Okay,
16 October is the first.
7 o'clock, okay, perfect, if you would do
And then
that,
my
that would
question-
solve everything.
Well, it's not gonna solve meeting on Thanksgiving and Christmas unless.
Well,
So we're just gonna skip
I
those.
propose to
gonna
skip
skip
those.
it.
And so we'll have a month between our November and December.
As we get closer, if we decide we need another.
Okay, I
meeting
just wanna
for
make
that.
I
sure.
think that's right,
Okay.
because the survey in theory gets concluded right
Right
before
before
Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
But we probably won't be prepared to talk about it until early December anyway.
right, so we can, skip Thanksgiving and then we can figure out whether we need meetings and we can do it ad hoc.
Okay, I will send a calendar invite when I get home.
Oh, I like it.
Early Thursdays morning, late
Yep, I'm
Thursdays.
alternating starting on the 2nd. And I will send it through the end of March because that's when this committee ends. And then if we don't like it, we can do it again.
Sounds
But
good.
at least we have control
Well
of the
said.
calendar invite. If it's wrong, you guys can tell me. and I can
I know,
fix it.
I-
Instead of telling some like person in the
Yes.
ethers who doesn't exist.
Yes, exactly.
She does not exist, she was very nice.
Should I,
But the second morning.
Morning.
should I copy and paste the Zoom link that is in the current meeting invite
Yes.
into the future one?
In-
Or still that Zoom? is
In
still
the
correct?
agenda.
In the
Take the
agenda.
one from the.
Yeah, we'll
agenda
use the same Zoom, that's gonna work.
Zoom in the agenda.
With the
So they
meeting
fixed
ID
the
and
screen
password.
share. Okay. we're
And they're all
perfect.
gonna be here, we're still staying here and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Well, okay, we have to get a key,
To meet at 7 PM.
cause it'd be closed. I'll go downstairs and ask Heather.
Okay.
If we need to get them changed, I love changing calendars. There you go.
No, it's just a location, this is a location that works, everybody knows it about, and we just, when we went in the evening, we just have to get a key, which is not a big deal.
Mhm.
All right, if it's not a big deal, but if it is, let us
No,
know.
no, I
Yeah.
mean, I could maybe see if I can get a key for Ellen, always.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Is there anyone online, who would like to make comments?
Oh, yeah, Carlin had a question.
Carly, you had a couple of questions about 41C1/2, and I don't have the answers to those. But they're great questions and we will look into that.
I appreciate that. The question was, does the exemption under 41C1/2 have any tax implications? I know that the RTE does not overall, as a general, it just shifts the burden, but the 41C1/2, I was curious about that. I did have one other question, and that was about how much it's gonna cost to do the postcards and to run the
Oh.
survey, and where that funding was going to be coming from.
So Wendy already dealt with that. It's gonna cost about $4,000 and she secured just under 5,000. So we're all set with that.
Okay,
And
great.
we, yeah, thank you.
From the
for
town
asking.
manager's budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks much.
All right, seeing no other comments coming in from the Ethernet. Anything else here? Motion to adjourn? Aye, aye.